Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for stopping by Healing Conversations with Z. This is me, Zuri Bibi. I've been gone for a while because I have been sick. Sick. Like, really sick. Um, my granddaughter brought home some kind of cooties 2 weeks ago, and then it got a hold of me. And then that was 1 week of it. Then the second week, I thought it was just about gone, and then it came back again. I'm at this point of it now where my nose isn't as stuffy now, but the cough is almost gone, and I'm still spitting up stuff. TMI, but it is what it is. Up, here we go. Okay, I'll just keep. Thank God I left this here. Um, I only wanted to do this video once. Even though I was sick, I was on here watching the videos. A lot of my people that from the community have been speaking on what I have written about in my diary journal, but they have spoke on it, sexual abuse. So I'm going to talk about it. But actually, what I want to say is, no, I'll just say it. I wrote a lot of stuff down. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I got tissue here if I start crying. Who knows how this is going to turn out. I'm hoping to do this on one take. I'm not turning the video off. My ego, I can actually say, as a child, my ego has protected me from a lot of what I'm going to talk about. And if a lot of people know, I always ask questions about the ego in Twin Talks, and this is part of the reason why I'm just gaining more perspective on my ego. Because as a child, well, let me just get into it. If you know anything about Sophia Charles's master program, it talks about trauma, abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, all that stuff. I've had it all. Not only have I had it all, I've had it all almost every day of my life as a child. And some people would brush it off, but no, I've been abused. I'm that child that's been abused emotionally, physically, sexually, and neglected every day of my life as a child. And I don't remember. I was a teenager. It still was happening as a teenager, but as a child, a little child, I can remember being abused. I can remember the sexual assaults. The sexual assault, I had a male babysitter. I don't know who and whose mother would let a boy, a teenage boy, babysit a 8, 7, 8, 9-year-old daughter. To this day, I don't think he actually penetrated me, but I do know he touched me. And it happened several times. Maybe I must have said something, or I don't know. But then one day I didn't have a male babysitter anymore. But I didn't get the help that I needed either. They just brushed it away, made it like it didn't happen. And maybe I did kind of numb myself down to it where it didn't happen. But the bad thing about it was this individual lived directly across the street from the house I lived. So whenever I walked out the door, I had to see that house, that individual, every day. And I'm sure he talked about it amongst another teenage boy, because there was a boy up the street who would just give me that look like, like, yeah. So he probably did penetrate me, but I don't remember. I pray that I don't remember. Or maybe I should remember, so if I can remember it, I can delete it. But I do know, because of that, and because I wasn't protected, things were just different. This was, of course, after my father died. Because I wasn't going to the boy babysitter. And because my mother was heavily drinking. When I say heavily, she was a drunk. My mother was an alcoholic. It was bad. My childhood was horrible. I'm just, what I'm talking about right here is, we won't even talk about how she used to wash my back with Comet. Yes, the cleaner. That's another conversation. We'll get to that later. But because my mother liked to party and drink and hang out, and she worked in the hospital with nurses and things, they would go to people's houses. So she would drag my brother and myself there. And of course, they would be in their area of the house doing whatever they were doing, and all the kids would be in this other area of the house doing whatever they were doing, abusing each other. I remember being at a house where somebody found some naked pictures and they were passing them around. I remember being where magazines were. I remember being in a place where the boy kids would try to touch the girl kids, or they would touch the girl kids, or they would dry hump the girls, or they would, if others, I can honestly say I was never penetrated at these places, but I was sexually assaulted at these places. They, inappropriately touching my breast, inappropriately trying to touch my butt, trying to touch my groin. All these things were going on. And because the male babysitter situation, nothing was done about it. I never said anything to my mother about it, because she wasn't going to say nothing about it. She didn't say nothing about it before. I do feel bad about it, though, because my brother was abused, too. He won't admit it, or he won't say anything, but I know that he was. He was much younger than me, too. And how could I protect him? I was barely protecting myself. They didn't penetrate me. Sexual abuse, let me see. And my mother would take me around people and children who would abuse me. And I talked about the magazines and the photos. I talked about being touched and the sexual conversations and all this other kind of crazy stuff. I've had it all. School. Boys would, how they would run and touch your butt and then run off, or try to touch, pop your bra strap, and, they thought that was the funniest thing. That happened only a few times with me, because I could run, and what I would do, if they did it to me, I would go to them, and then I would trip them and stomp them out and stomp their private parts, and I'd punch them in the face, so they knew not to touch me. I was mean. That's how I stopped that in school. And then they didn't want to tell the teachers or anybody, because then they'd have to record that. So the boys didn't tell, and so I controlled where they touched me, if they touched me. and they didn't, and they weren't allowed. As a young teenager, even as a kid, grown ass men walking around licking their lips at you and saying inappropriate things. Yes, that happened to me all the time. I didn't write this down, but I even remember being at the bus stop and a guy tried to snatch me in the car at the bus stop. Because my mother wouldn't take me. It was very rare that she would take me places in the car. So I would have to catch the bus. So I was always on guard at the bus stop because the men would go to the bus stops. Kids would disappear at the bus stops. But they would come and they would try to get me to get in the car with them, or they would try to get out and I would walk away. This was my childhood, living in the city, urban city. The scariest thing that did happen to me in my neighborhood, though, there was the corner store. You know, it was a couple of stores that I would go to. It was 4 stores in the neighborhood. One was furthest away, if we really would go, and being furthest away, I'm saying about 3 blocks. But you'd have to cross the main street to get to it. 2 of the stores, one was like around the block, but they both were, one was around the block to the left and one was to the right. But then the store that we liked in the beginning, that we used to like, was the one right on our street but across the street. So we'd have to cross the street to get to it. We would all go there. But I remember this one time I was sent to the store to get, back then kids could get cigarettes and stuff, so I was sent to get cigarettes. And while I was in there, I was going to get some candy or whatever. And to get the pop, I guess the stores are still the same. You have to walk in and you go all the way to the back of the store to get the pop. Now, in my city, I lived in the city of Detroit. During the late 70s, early 80s, Middle Easterners, they took over one whole city, Dearborn. But they would have their stores in Detroit because Detroit was majority African American. Other cities wouldn't allow them. The white cities wouldn't allow them there. Or if they did allow any, it would be 1 or 2. They couldn't just come and be on every corner, pretty much. Because the one store that was around the corner from me was the only black-owned store. And most people laugh when I tell them that I used to go to a black-owned store when I was a kid. That was the black-owned store. And they ended up eventually being bought out by Middle Easterners because all the other stores were Middle Eastern stores. But getting back to what I want to talk about, I went to the store, went in, walked to the back of the store because I think I was going to get a Faygo or something. I liked candy and I liked chips and pop and everything. And I used to babysit sometimes, so I had extra money. So I went to get a pop, and then I was going to get some chips, and then I was going to go to the red, the glass, you couldn't talk to them face to face. They had like this plastic, it was like they were protected inside the thing, and then we had to talk to them outside of this barricade thing. That's what they did. But I didn't know when I walked in that it was, I knew there was a man in the store, but I didn't see where he was. But when I went to the back of the store to get my pop, I turned around and I saw the man in the barricaded thing, and he kept looking. He just kept looking, and he started running, trying to get out of the barricade. And I was the only one in the store, so he was trying to get out because he was going to lock me in the store. That's where he was going. He was going to, I was running to get out, but I was all the way in the back of the store. he was in the barricaded part, so he had a head start because all he had to do was come out and run and lock the door, because that's what he was going to go do. But I ran and I kind of got right almost behind him, and he almost got to the door to lock it, but by the grace of God, and that day I believed in God, a man walked in the store, and it stopped him, and I dropped whatever I had, and I looked at the man, and I ran out of the store. So I was almost molested by somebody that worked in the community. I don't remember if I got my mother's cigarettes. I probably went home and got a beating for that, because I was beaten a lot. Like I said, I've had everything that she talks about in that master program. I've experienced it all regularly. It wasn't like periodically. It was an everyday occurrence. Each day I was called stupid or dummy or you idiot. Each day I was either thumped or hit, or each day I went through something like that as a child. Each day. Then I would leave out the building, out of the house. And then I'd be abused by the people in the neighborhood. Then I'd go to school. Then I'd be abused there. Then, if by chance she would take me someplace, I'd be, it wouldn't have been as bad. But then, they're trying to touchy-feely over there wherever we were. So it was like there was nowhere for me to go unless I asked to stay home. But then if I stayed home, why you want to stay home? You're going to get into something. It was just a whole vicious cycle for me as a child. And so I know that it affected a lot of the choices that I made. I don't think I would have had my children when I had them, or began having them. I would have had them, but I don't think I would have began, because being in that abuse led me to being in other situations that I haven't even written about. I can truly say I know why there are people who get on drugs. I truly know why people who become functioning alcoholics. But for some reason, the experience for me that I picked to be down here shielded me from this. And I say that because my ego, I would always say when it got really bad, I would always say in my head, I'm better than this. And whatever these people are doing to me, bad things are going to happen to them. I'm smarter than all of these people. I'm better than them. Regardless of what they were saying, whatever negative they were saying to me, I was saying, I know that I'm smarter than them. And I can honestly say, especially concerning the babysitter, the boy babysitter, he's dead now. And his life was not very good. He had a promising football career because he was a football player. So I'm a little 7 or 8, 9-year-old, and this is a big teenage boy. Big, like linebacker, big, 300-pound, big. Something happened to him where his ankle or something happened and then he broke his leg and all this other kind of stuff. Karma is real. It is. For whatever reason, the powers that be stepped in. I probably could have been anything in the world that I wanted to be as a kid. I was very smart. Very smart. Highly smart. If I got a bad grade, it was because I just didn't care. Or I might have got beat that morning. Or one of the times I told my daughter about I did something bad. I had stolen some pennies out of dad's penny jar, and my mom found out, and because we used to sneak and go to the store at lunchtime from school, but I'll get more into that in another time. But when she found out that I had stolen those pennies, she took my hand and she turned on the stove and she put my hand over the fire, and then she sent me off to school. I was abused. So I do feel better speaking about it. I do remember releasing a lot of the things, but I never wanted to make a video about it, and that probably was my ego as well. Just saying, no, you don't need to talk about that. That's personal, but we do need to talk about it. Brittany, I really appreciated that video you made. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I can honestly say I've never received any therapy. I've never received any counseling. But I do know that I've numbed myself. I do know, if you see this mark here, my brother did that when he got older. I'll talk about that another time. It almost was in my eye, but they fixed it enough where, yeah, that's another story. And nothing was done about that either. I tried to call the police, but my mother hung up the phone before I could do so. And then she threatened me when I went to emergency. But, yeah. I've been abused by many people. Lots of people. And so, if you think you haven't been, you probably have been. Even if it wasn't in your house. I found out years later, because my cousins lived 3 doors down from me. That they would sit at the table, and their father, if he didn't like something that their mother said, he would throw his glass across the table and hit her in the face while the kids were eating dinner. That's fucked up. I mean, the stuff that went in my house was fucked up too. They saw me get beat. They've seen me get beat with a dustpan. Train tracks. No, not the train. Race tracks. Those little yellow race tracks. You know about that too. Extension cords. My mom didn't really use that stuff too much because she knew it would leave bruises, and she worked in the hospital. My mother was smart. Her mouth was her weapon of choice. And if she did hit us, she would twist, slap. But like I said, that kind of stuff, that was normal behavior in my house. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about was the sexual abuse, because it happened. And it like I said, it took me a while to do this, not because I didn't want to talk about it. But Sophia Charles did say that someone may watch this video and they may be going through it, or they may have experienced it. And I can tell you that even before I got on this journey with this community, I would go back to those moments. I didn't know how to fix it, but I would go back. That's why I can kind of, it's not like it didn't happen, but it's not like it's so raw now, because like I said, I've gone back and tried to make sense of it. I know that it happened. I acknowledged it happened. Excuse me. It was just a matter of me learning how to diffuse it and release it. I didn't know how to do that. So with me going back, it was just like me reactivating it again. But now I know how to release it. It's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I wrote stuff, but like I said, every day as a child, I had some type of sexual abuse. Oh, and then the boys would tease you. They used to call me, because they would always talk about sex or trying to touch, but they knew not to because I had them hands. They would call me frigid. Oh, I was called oil can. Just imagine that. You know, they would say because I was frigid or stiff or mean. Because, and my mouth was very vicious. It's still very vicious if I needed it to be. I did learn that from my mother. And I have used it against boys. And so I probably got some karma coming to me because I done said some stuff to some boys. And it wasn't, it was truthful stuff. You know, I wasn't one of those malicious petty where I would say a petty thing to hurt your feelings. No, I'd tell you the truth. And I'd look you straight dead in the face while I said it. So I've heard a couple of little karmic boys. Oh well, I hope what they did to me, you give them the same energy they gave to you, you give back to them to diffuse it. That's what I did. So I guess I'm okay with that. Alright, let me quit. I'm rambling now, but I knew it was time for me to make this video. I may remember more. Who knows? But I told you a lot of what I experienced. But you have to remember, I experienced this stuff every day as a child. Every day. Oh, my mother would walk around half naked. That's abuse. What child needs to see a parent walk around with their breasts hanging out? Or seeing pubic hair when you didn't even have any? I've seen a lot of stuff. Just gives, when I just think about it, it just gets as real can be. And it's just mind-blowing that people think that's normal for children to see. Never mind seeing them drunk. That's another story too. But anyway, I hope that anything that I've said here can give you some enlightenment, understanding that you weren't alone. Yeah, if that person touched you and you didn't feel comfortable, they weren't supposed to touch you. You didn't give them permission. You saw a man that might have winked at you or licked his lips at you in a sexual way, and you really, that's sexual abuse. That still happens now, when I just give them the look like, seriously? And they'll be with their wives. That's the bad part about it. Let me go. Alright. Maybe I'll do it, my cards. I've been having a good time with my cards. I've been having a good time. See how I changed that energy real quick? Like that. I may do a reading. I may use these. I like these. And this is what I didn't say. Right during the two weeks ago, I did I talked about the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah in Discord. And I mean, I was hacking and coughing while I was talking, but they couldn't see my face, so it was okay. But a lot of people didn't get a chance to see it, and so I said that I would do a mini video about it. And what I envisioned before I got really sick was that these are mini cards. I have small hands. Let's just keep, just so you can understand. I have very small hands, and these are the mini crawly cards, or crazy man cards, as I call them. Oh, look at that. Prudence, step by step. What I would do with these cards, because they're small enough, and I think I can do it with my phone, I'm going to actually put these cards in the Tree of Life pattern on this table that I have my camera tripod on. And what I will do is when I put them in the place, I'm going to have them all in their placement. I'll say what the cards are. I'll say what that placement means. And whatever card pops up, I'll talk about that card concerning that placement. I think that would be the best way for me to explain it. And I'll tell you what side is the masculine side, and I'll tell you what side is the feminine, and I'll tell you what side is the divine feminine place as well. I will do that. I don't know if that's going to happen today, because later on this evening I have some things I need to do. I may do it Monday. Monday may be the day that I could do it, because I'll have a day where I'll have some time where I know I won't be disturbed, because I'm in an open area of my living space, and a lot of times somebody may knock at the door or whatever, and I don't want to be disturbed when I do this. Alright, glad I diffused myself out of that energy, and I'm in this one now. You all take care. The people who have been concerned about me, thank you so much for asking how I'm doing. You see me now. I even put on some eye makeup. I don't do this often. So yeah, I'm feeling really, really better. It's not a good job, but it's better than looking sickly. So thank you all for stopping by Healing Conversations with Z, because I feel this was a healing conversation. It definitely was for me. I hope you all come back, check in, and see what I'm doing next time. All right. You take care.